From the Ear to There Travel Studio, this is the Ear to There Disney Podcast.
The Ear to There Podcast, it's time to start the show. Be sure to hold on tight, here we go. Exploring all the different Disney destinations. Ear to There, it's time to start the fun.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Ear to There Disney Podcast. This is your captain speaking. My name is Phil Gramlich. I am also the owner of Ear to There Travel, which is a Disney specialized travel agency. It's my job to take away all of that stress, all of that anxiety, and all that time that it takes to plan a Disney trip so you can focus on the really fun things like having a great time with your family and friends and enjoying the magic. And I do all of that stuff for free, right? At no cost to you. So from finding you the best possible package price or hotel room price, to booking your dining reservations and your fast passes to golf tee times, special event tickets, transportation, maybe even a couple days in one of those theme parks down the road, even that one with the wizard with the glasses. I'll do all of that at absolutely no extra cost to you. So just think of me as the Sala to your Indiana Jones. I'm there to give you advice, to help show you around, to guide you, and I might even go so far as to save you from a bad date once in a while. And if you don't know that reference, well, you have to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark again, definitely. All right, you can find this podcast, my blog, my live videos, or request a free, no obligation quote over at ear2theretravel.com. This is episode number 112 for the week of February 26th, 2018. So grab a drink, grab a snack, and as a famous mouse once said, on with the show. And of course, before I get too far into it, it is time for the What About Bob segment of the show. This is where retired Disney Imagineer and Disney legend Bob Gurr comes on each and every week to answer your questions. Bob designed things like the Autopia, the Tomorrowland Speedway, the Omnimover system, including the Doom Buggies, both monorails. Think about that. The monorails in both Disneyland and Walt Disney World, they were Bob Gurr designed. The list goes on and on and on. And if you want to get a question in for Bob to answer, you can just call the voice line. That phone number is 267-551-1971. And listen each and every week to see if your question made it to Bob. You can also email me your questions at phil@ear2theretravel.com. That's what most people tend to do. I think I have a lot of shy people who just want to text or email their questions in. But that's okay. If the question gets to me, it'll probably get to Bob. Oh, and this segment, the What About Bob segment of the show, is brought to you by the Waltland Bus Tour. Each and every month, Bob takes a group of people around Southern California on a tour through Burbank, through Los Angeles, through Glendale, and stops at a whole bunch of famous landmarks in the history of the Disney company and also in the life of Walt Disney. To get tickets for the Waltland Bus Tour, just head over to www.waltland.com. Alrighty, without further ado, here he is with his own theme song, the one, the only, Mr. Bob Gurr.
It's What About Bob? Bob Gurr, the legend, creator of the Matterhorn, the monorails and the Haunted Mansion. What about Bob, the Disney legend?
All right, Bob, here's another one. This one's from Jesse in Florida. What do you think could possibly be done with the Autopia or the Tomorrowland Speedway to update it to fit it better with the technology of today?
Oh, number one, Autopia should be electric. No question. We got electric versions, I think, in, what do we got in Hong Kong, I think. The same basic chassis of the car. Different bodies and some of the different parts. But yeah, if we had a really good Tomorrowland in Disneyland instead of a Star Tours land, we could have had a beautiful, spectacular Tomorrowland with all kinds of dynamic stuff. It would have looked a little bit more like, a touch of Avatar, a touch of the really original, Star Wars. And, you have the monorail sweeping around through it. But we'd have an Autopia ride that would be a nice sweeping track winding all over the place. And the cars would be battery electric and obviously lithium ion, sponsored by Tesla or something like that. But for modern day kids, because they want to drive a car, they want to bump something. But the fact that we would get rid of all the pollution, all the noise, all the racket that's to do with little one-cylinder engines, and we have a little panel in the front of the car in which the kids can pick out which engine they want to hear when they're driving. Because you can sound-wise, you can make any sound that you want, electronically. One kid, he probably wants a Ferrari. A V10 Formula One car, and the next guy wants a Corvette, and another guy wants a Mercedes V8, stuff like that. Plus one that you push the button and it sounds like a hopped up Tesla. All you hear is the screaming gears in it. That's what we should have, but I don't see the slightest sign anybody's interested in doing that.
That was actually the follow-up question that I had was, how do you kind of reconcile the future themes of Tomorrowland and Future World in Epcot, and Tomorrowland and Disneyland and Magic Kingdom? How do you kind of make that current and make that, but still make it futuristic? I'm interested in hearing what you think. Like, what could they do, Imagineers today do to make that kind of timeless, or can they do anything?
I retired years ago from both the Disney company and everybody else I work for. It's a hypothetical question because it's complicated with finances and politics and, product promotions, all this kind of stuff together today. And I am so glad I am so far away from that stuff, and I don't venture any opinion.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Once again, thank you to Bob Gurr for answering yet another question on the show. And thank you to Jesse from Florida for asking that question. Each and every time I walk by the Autopia in Disneyland or the Speedway in Magic Kingdom, I smell the gas and I wonder why, oh why, isn't this electric? So Bob answered the exact same way that I would have, but of course he's a Disney legend and he designed that attraction. I'm just a legend in my own head. Okay, moving on. Thanks again to Bob and to Jesse. I know I say it every week, but man, what a blessing it is. What a cool thing it is to have Bob on these shows. Talk about a living legend, a guy who created such amazing things and worked alongside Walt Disney and worked with all the other greats like Yale Gracie, Mark Davis, Ward Kimball. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's so cool. And to think I'm learning all this Disney history from the guy who lived it, and you get to listen in and kind of go along for the ride with us. It's an amazing thing. So Bob, thank you again. I don't know if you listened to the show, but thank you so much. All right, time to move on to episode number 112. Hang on to them hats and glasses. Here we go. That's a new catchphrase I'm trying out. No, let me know if you like it. Here we go. The writing is on the wall. Big changes are coming to Disney's Hollywood Studios and to Disneyland Park out in Anaheim. Why? Well, if this music gives you any clue, it's because Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is coming. This week we wanted to give you a little bit of an idea on what you can expect with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in both Disneyland and in Walt Disney World. Here to talk Star Wars Galaxy's Edge with me is a man who still sleeps in his C-3PO pajamas every night, Mr. Chuck Rodriguez, welcome back to the show.
And also, every morning, the first words out of my mouth is "Thank the Maker."
Pretty good C-3PO impression, man. I gotta
I
give
know
it to
you were
you.
going to say that, so that really came out in like half a second.
That was pretty good.
It's
Listen,
the only thing I can say in his voice, but
no,
that's fine.
I'm glad I didn't do R2D2. Then you had to do an R2D2 impression. You would've been-
Beep, 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 beep. That's not mine.
that was Beaker, man. That was Beaker from the Muppets. All right,
Right.
well,
Yeah, they all sound the same to me.
yeah, that's true. BB-8, it's the same thing. Anyway, how are you, Chuck? Thank you so much for agreeing again to do this episode. And this one was suggested to me by you, and only because I floated about 10 topics by you, and you said no to all of them. Which is true.
It's been a very tense and exciting week for me. So everything you said was just so boring. I just figured not going to.
Dude, come on, man. You know that. Anyway, I was, as I was floating the topics to you, I was saying them to Amy, and Amy was like, "That's a good episode," and then you would shoot it down, and I was like, "What does this guy want?"
I mean, to be honest, it's an incredible coincidence. But literally, the second that I had finished reading that article, you texted me and asked me if I could do a podcast. So, of course, it was just so fresh in my mind. I couldn't help it.
All right, so the basic premise, I'm sorry, my text messages are going off. I'll turn my phone off. The basic premise of the article is about how all the changes, no matter how small, being made in Disneyland right now are kind of being made to accommodate the guests who are going to be flocking to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge when it opens. And it opens there earlier than it's going to open, actually, in Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
They both say 2019, but we've been told earlier in 2019 for Disneyland. I'm not going to go into who wrote the article and where it is and all that, but basically it talks about like the expansion of the Cove Bar, what's the new lounge they put in, the Lighthouse or something like that lounge.
Oh,
the Gaslight.
Like Death Lamp?
Gaslamp, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That lounge, they took out Ariel's Grotto over there at Disneyland or Disney's California Adventure, all of that stuff, and the ticket price increase and all that that's all being done in preparation for Star Wars Land, right? That's the premise of the article.
I'm surprised it didn't touch upon even like the repaving of Main Street. Like even things like that actually prepares.
Yeah, and they're also doing other little things out there that aren't being kind of talked about. Like they're widening some of the pathways over by Matterhorn. They're widening things in Toontown. Like they're doing a lot of construction to try to accommodate the crowds out there, because it's gonna be a mass of humanity when that opens. It's gonna be insane, and
yes.
So what do you think? Do you? I don't want to say do you believe the article because it's an opinion and it's kind of, but what do you think? Do you think that? What's your opinion on the article? Basically, is what I'm asking, Chuck. I'm struggling to find words.
No, my interpretation, it wasn't exactly, I didn't really interpret this article as actually opinion-based or more, I really thought it was more factual, just down to the nitty-gritty, which is no different than many of the things that we've been talking here in Orlando for years that are coming in order to prepare. It's just logistical and infrastructure things that are happening to prepare.
Right. The one thing that I thought, and I have a slight bit of like rumor and things that I've heard from friends who work out there. The one thing that I don't really buy is the Pixar retheming of the Pixar Pier retheming of Paradise Pier, and basically that, and the Incredibles coaster, the Incredicoaster coming to Pixar Pier. Those they're not. I think they're meant not to be so much draws away from Star Wars Land, but they're kind of draws to that part of the park, because you've been there, right? I mean, you've been out there. Have you been out there since they've redone it? Since the DCA refurb?
Well, I think it was in the middle of the redoing.
People just don't go to that part of the park. Like think of the when it was California Screamin', that coaster, it was almost always a walk on, and no matter what. And Disneyland is the more popular park there, obviously. And even with all these changes, and I love DCA now. I love what they've done with it. It's just a beautiful park, but it suffers in still in attendance to Disneyland, and that's going to only get worse eventually when Star Wars Land opens. Definitely, it's going to get worse. Again, there's things that they're doing in DCA that are going to draw, that they're going to happen in the next couple of years, that are going to draw the crowds kind of away from Star Wars Land, because I don't think they want that. The article that we're talking about mentions the lines in front of the 3 entry points in Star Wars Land and Disneyland. I don't think Disneyland wants that, because there's nowhere to put those lines. Where are you going to put them?
Agreed.
So, without tipping my hand here, I think they may be looking at some, Star Wars Land only tickets. What I've heard, selling tickets to only Star Wars Land and not really the rest of the park, like guaranteed access to Star Wars Land, or even a price increase possibly has been talked about to get into Star Wars Land. It's not, there's the Disneyland ticket, and then there's the Disneyland ticket with access to Star Wars Land. They could be 2 different price levels. What do you think about that?
Did we meet 12 years ago? Because I'm the most cynical person on earth. I'm already assuming that I personally will not get to see Star Wars Land until maybe 2021.
Yeah.
Because I will not be able to afford it. And that has when I've been fooling around with the idea lately of leaving Orlando at some point if I suddenly get excited to go someplace else. That's one of the reasons. Because I might as well. Because I'm not going to get to see it. Of course, it's going to be overpriced. And to be honest, to go further cynical, what you said about what they're retheming Pixar, retheming the whatchamacallit area.
Paradise
Pixar,
Pier.
all that. It's not because they want to draw people. It's just to satisfy the people who aren't going to get to go to the Magic Kingdom because their passes are only going to allow them to go to California Adventure. So they might as well see something that's slightly new.
Yes and no, I think. I kind of agree, and then I kind of disagree, too. I agree because, well, to be honest with you, that part of the park, again, it never got attendance. Nobody's ever back there. It's kind of stale already, even though they just renovated it again. Like, it's not... Listen, California Adventure, I'm not going to pull any punches, it opened as pretty much a colossal failure when it first opened originally. I mean, that's why they added things like Bugs Land, and it's tough to be a bug, and they added, all these little kind of experiences that weren't there originally because they were like, well, we have to get people into this park. Like, Disneyland was still killing it. California Adventure wasn't doing well at all, which is, again, why I was a little surprised when they announced that Star Wars Land was coming back in, what was that, 2015?
I don't remember now.
I think it was 2015, yeah. Yeah, because I was at D23 in Anaheim when that happened. But I was surprised that they were putting it in Disneyland because I thought, well, there's nowhere to put it. There's no room. And looking at it now, the one in Disneyland is going to be about the size of Fantasyland in Disneyland. That's big, but it's not enormous. You know what I mean? Like, think about how I just think it's going to be crazy when it opens. It's going to be busy, and I don't think Disney wants the other park, the Universal Orlando or Universal. I'll say the name. They don't want the Harry Potter lines for that land, or even they don't want the Avatar, the Pandora World of Avatar lines that they had just getting into that land. They don't want to avoid that as much as possible, I think.
Well, obviously, yes. I mean, they want to avoid it, although it's going to be unavoidable. So, oh well.
Well, do you think it's going to be unavoidable in Walt Disney World as well, or do you think they? What's your opinion on that?
Yes, it'll be unavoidable regardless. They might be able to minimize it, and especially if they only allow the rich people of the world to be able to go to it for the first 2 years. But
how about rich people and annual pass holders so we can get a preview? Us too. We need to get in.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yes, it will.
I don't even think they'll even give a preview to those of us who have the regular annual passes. I think it'll come down to you have to upgrade to a whole new pass.
The Star Wars annual pass.
I'm calling it now. No, not necessarily. It's just that they'll get rid of some tiers or make more restrictions on the tiers that already exist. Like the one that I have, which is already like 4 tiers down. I mean, really from the super duper pass.
Yes, that is the technical name of it, the super duper pass.
There used to be 4-day passes that were called super duper. I still have one.
Do you really? That's really funny.
Yeah, I still do.
That's funny. So
paper tickets.
So talking about Disney World, right? So we're looking at Star Wars Land opening in Hollywood Studios in 2019. That's going to be, basically right next, kind of close next door to Toy Story Land. I wonder, with Toy Story Land opening first, if people are going to be super disappointed, if guests are going to be very disappointed in that land. I have a feeling they might be. I don't know how you feel, but I just think it does. I'm excited about it. Of course, I'm a dad to little kids, and that they love Toy Story, and Toy Story 4 is in development. But I don't know. I looking at it, just feels a little bit underwhelming. I hope I'm wrong, but I think I might be right. I don't know how you feel about that at all.
Honestly, I think Toy Story Land is one of the first new expansions or lands or attractions, whatever you want to say, that they've been extremely honest and realistic about since day one. So if your expectations are above or beyond, it's because you're not paying attention. I've known for 3 years Toy Story Land is exactly what it's going to be. It'll be worth it to walk around a little bit, to go onto the coaster once, more often if you have kids, obviously, and that's about it. Yeah. I think it really is just to expand. It's also to create a full circle, because once Star Wars Land and Toy Story Land are open, then you can actually do a full circle around the park, which you haven't been able to do in years.
And really, but that's exactly what the park needs, is that connection. But there will still be that dead end over on Sunset Boulevard. Yeah. And that's the problem with the park, and it's been the problem with that part of the park for years, is, Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror are, seeing, I don't know how many people, I forget the number. It's something like, I can't remember the number, 3,000 or something like that, people per hour as far as capacity goes. The problem is, people walk down Hollywood or Sunset Boulevard to do those attractions. Those same people are walking back out. So there's only one entrance point, one exit point. So that's where I think that traffic has always been a pain in the butt, getting in and out of there. I'm hoping you're right. They're going to open that up a little bit, but I'd love to see a connection between Sunset and over, somehow back behind to, I don't know even where that would connect to, the animation courtyard or something.
Well, yeah, you could do that, or you could go straight to Rock and Roller Coaster. You could have. There's no reason why they can't have an emergency overflow like they do when you leave Fantasmic, or when you used to leave Main Street before they actually made it a little bit fancy.
Yeah, I think they almost. I don't know. They're going to need to. They're going to need to do something there. The park it was never designed, and that's the problem with, if you ask me, with putting Star Wars Land in there in the first place. It was never designed for this kind of capacity. It just never, maybe if it was designed, but it never could handle the huge crowds, because there are bottlenecks, and there's dead ends, and there's little spots. Like, I'm thinking about the spot where Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is going to be. Back behind there, I have to go down the ramp, and then there's what used to be One Man Stream back there, and then it gets you over to where Sci-Fi is, and then back where Star Tours is, and now where Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is going to be. It's just a weird, it never was designed to handle the crowds the way, say, Magic Kingdom is, or Epcot especially. So it's going to be interesting when that park, or when that land opens, to see kind of what it is and how people navigate the crowds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's one of those rare occasions when you're actually being more pessimistic and critical than me, because I think they've been very honest about the fact that they designed it to be something else in 1989, and now they want to design it to something else. And I don't think there's anyone who doesn't really assume that once Star Wars Land and Toy Story Land are open, then yes, then they can rip out One Man's Dream and the few buildings that are still connected to it, and Voyage of the Little Mermaid, and then do something there. So then I cannot. I mean, look how much they're doing. Even the parking lot thing, the whole parking lot and the whole entrance thing. They know what they're doing this time around.
Yeah, you're right.
I think they have their mistake, and they definitely know what they're doing this time around.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the entrance has been a problem. Even little things like the entrance to the park. Hollywood Studios has the fewest number of turnstiles in all of the Walt Disney World parks.
Right.
So it's interesting. Yeah, I think you're right. I'm still taken a little bit aback by you saying that I was being more cynical. That's crazy.
I was too, but the way you're talking, I think you're actually. My interpretation of everything that's been talked about by Disney themselves And then, of course, you know, the little things that we all hear from people who work there and whatnot. I think they are flat out said, we created the park to be one thing. Now we're completely going to change. Bear with us. And everything that they have announced that they're going to do to make that park change completely makes sense. And I'm all for it.
All right, yeah. Listen, I'm all for it as well. I don't love... Well, no, I can't say that. I'm not going to say I don't love ripping out. But I did love One Man's Dream. It's different now than it was. Voyage of the Little Mermaid has been there for so long. It's the same show. I wasn't one of the people who were super upset when animation was taken out in favor of Star Wars Launch Bay. I like Launch Bay. I really enjoy it when I go. So, yeah, I'm cool with all that. The other thing I was thinking about too with Toy Story Land is you were saying they've been honest and they're saying what it is and what it's going to be, and it's going to be, you know, connected right to Star Wars Land. Am I wrong? I think I'm right about that.
Yeah, it will.
So what do you? I imagine, you know, big, wide walkways, areas to kind of get through there. They kind of look silly a bit before Galaxy's Edge opens, just because it's going to have to handle this huge capacity of people moving in and out of there. Kind of like think about when you're in Disneyland, right? And you're leaving at night after the fireworks. It's impossible to get out of there. But Magic Kingdom it's a little easier. I mean, when Happily Ever After opened, it was a different story, but it's a little easier because it's a much wider, much bigger area with more room for people to get out. I kind of think that's what Toy Story Land will be. Just a lot of space for people to move around. You know, like you said, it's pretty minimal on attractions.
Yeah, it's on purpose.
Yeah.
Just a lot of space so people can flow and walk past the only 2 attractions that the whole place is going to have.
Well,
and
3.
That's why...
one that's already there.
Because Toy Story Mania, because they're already there.
Right.
Yes, that makes it all makes perfect sense what they're doing. They're doing it. They're not caring about what people are just going to be like. Ooh, this is cool. No, they're being smart and they're being logistical and they're being about flow and infrastructure. And at this point in my life, I think I actually find that more fascinating than just the oohs and ahs that I get from a stupid ride.
Okay, so you do know again that the purpose of my podcast and my business is to get people to go to these parks, right?
Well, I just have complete faith that's going to happen no matter what.
Okay,
so,
all right.
It's always going to be the most fun thing human beings have ever come up with. I mean, no one else is going to come up with anything more fun. So,
what's funny is I totally agree. Like that, and I can't believe I'm agreeing with what you said, but it's true. Like they're putting this stuff in, and people are going to come anyway. They're going to be like, I'm really curious as to what do you have to make a lot of big changes in Walt Disney World to handle the runoff? Like, I know they're doing Ratatouille at Epcot, Guardians of the Galaxy, the new film in China, which I don't think that makes that much of a difference. But you know, you're expanding. You're doing.
You mean for flow?
Yeah, exactly. You're moving.
No, Epcot was created from 1982 on. It was already created with flow that you could add 40 new attractions that are all the most popular things on the planet, and you'll still have the same flow that you did in 1982.
Yeah, you'll still be able to move through there. But what I'm asking you is, does that alleviate a little bit of Star Wars Land and Hollywood Studios traffic, or is that's going to happen no matter what, in your opinion? What do you think?
Yes and no, because if we're going to go with our instincts, that says that for at least the first year or two, there will be different prices that would include Star Wars Land that doesn't. So that's what's going to make the difference. It's not going to be the sidewalks. It's going to be the price difference. So if you buy a 5-day Hopper Pass and it does allow you to Star Wars Land, or it doesn't, or if you have an annual pass and it does allow you to go in, or it doesn't. That's what's going to be the difference.
It's all about
and
the
that
money.
Part is not much fun to talk about. I mean, we can't talk about 2 hours just about that.
No,
it's going to be what it is. I mean, it is it or isn't. One or the other. That's all. So we have to just wait and see what they do with the prices.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about it, to be honest with you, because I do want to be able to get in and see it, and I want everybody to be able to get in and see it. And I have no doubt that it's going to be incredible. And that's again, like you said, that's what's going to bring the people in. It's not going to be the sidewalks. It's not going to be the stuff that they do around it. It's not going to be the new parking lot or any of that stuff. I mean,
they have to do all that.
No, regardless. Right. That's exactly right.
But when in the end, remember when the 2 Harry Potter lands, when the first one opened, only a few months after it opened, I went in the summer with my father and my brother, and we waited in line for over an hour just to get into the land, and then 2 hours for the ride itself. And that's how crazy it was for months at a time.
Mm-hmm.
The second Harry Potter land, I went at 6:30 in the morning and stood outside in the dark with thousands of people, and then it took us 2 hours to be flowed all the way to the park, and then I waited an additional 4.5 hours for the ride itself.
Oh my God!
And that
Chuck.
continued on for weeks. Now it doesn't happen anymore.
No, it doesn't. But my Lord, I just wait 2
Universal
years.
did not make changes to the prices or the annual passes.
Right, and again, Disneyland is already doing it. They already made some price changes out there. Again, I don't know.
There's so many more annual pass holders in Florida ever will have.
Exactly, and it's a completely different dynamic out there than it is in Walt Disney World. It's also why more money is thrown into things in Disneyland than is in Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World is a once in a couple years, once in a 5 years, whatever destination for a lot of Disney fans. Disneyland is an every weekend kind of thing. Like,
correct.
The locals out there go all the time. I remember that story about that guy who was there like every day for like 7 years.
Yeah, of course.
Like, it's crazy.
Or the stories of parents who work and they live within blocks of Disneyland, so they tell their kids when they finish school, take your annual pass and go to Disneyland, and then come home at 6:30 when I get home.
Dude, that would be the greatest thing ever. I wish I was a little kid out there.
I mean, there are apartment complexes within 1 block of the place.
Yeah.
I walked through there by accident one time when I was staying at a travel lodge like 5 blocks away.
You got to be careful, man.
It's not the greatest neighborhood in the world.
I was going to say, before you know it, but before you know it, you walk into a bad area of Anaheim. Like, I did it when I was walking out to the convention center from my hotel over the summer.
I was like behind it. I walked behind the convention center.
Hey, you don't want to be back there. That's not a good spot. It's not really good.
I mean, it's not the worst place in the world, but
no. But look, there's some shade. There are some shady. I tell clients that too. Like they think Disneyland is just like Disney World, where it's not. It's different. It's a city. Right. It's a real city that has real city issues. So you gotta be careful. Anyway, so let me ask you this. I don't mean to pepper questions at you, so let me know if I'm driving you crazy.
No, please keep going.
So let's talk about the Star Wars Resort. Now, we've seen pictures of it. The new pictures were released a couple of days ago. The one I loved is I really like seeing it. It's like the family checking in. It looks like, and they look over their head, and there's this huge. It's supposed to look like a window, but there's like a starship flying over their head in this lobby. Excuse me. They're saying it's going to be the most immersive resort, unlike anything you've ever seen. And I thought and we knew this was coming, but one of the big things is it's going to be seamlessly connected to Star Wars Land, the Galaxy's Edge.
Yes. How
are they going to do that? And I have a lot of questions about this, but I want to hear what are they going to do? Is there going to be an attraction?
Specifically for the seamless thing? I know there's already people speculating about the seamless. I don't think it means that the resort will physically be right next to the studios and connected. I read one little sentence and something, I read multiple things in the past 2 weeks, but one little sentence that said, you can't have people just randomly walk into this hotel like we do, right? I randomly go to the Wilderness Lodge because I just feel like sitting on a bench and taking a nap for an hour sometimes, in the middle of my day. You can't do that in a place where it's almost like you're actually an actor the entire time.
Yeah, you're playing a role.
You're paying to actually work. So you can't. So that means I think it'll be completely isolated in the middle of one of Disney's swamps.
So how do you get back and forth? Is there an attraction? Is there a people mover? Is there a monorail?
No. I think it would. If that theory holds out, it's got to be, I guess, a cross-world drive where there's still a ridiculous amount of. So yes, maybe there could be a little bridge or something just for them. It could be, but I think seamless could just simply mean that because you're staying at the hotel and you're going to have interactions. It's almost like you're pretending to be a character the whole time you're staying there. So things that will happen to you in your interactions at the hotel will continue into the park. So
right.
a park will know what you did with a character in the hotel, 3 hours ago.
Yeah, and that kind I agree with you totally on that, and that blows my mind. Like you're gonna have something. I guess if it's going to be in your Magic Band or what it's going to be.
Well, it has to be in the Magic Band. They're not going to implant a chip in our necks.
Well, maybe they will, Chuck.
Not
I don't
yet.
know what they're going to do.
Not yet. That's
they're like, oh, you're checking in? Okay. When it's shoot you in the neck with a gun and put something in your neck, in your forehead. But no, like, it's going to, like, they're going to know you're like a smuggler, or they're going to know you were working with the Jedi. They're going to, that blows me away. And my question is, and I've talked to people about this, is, so do the people staying at this, like, they're paying this premium amount to stay at this resort for 2 nights. Do they, when they leave the resort to go to Star Wars Land, do they also have the opportunity to go to the other lands in Hollywood Studios? Like, are they still wearing their Jedi costume and ride in Tower of Terror is what I'm asking. Or does, like, because the story has to end when you leave the land, right? Like, so I wonder how that's going to work.
I mean, I don't really think that's a very exciting question, because it would just be personal preference. I mean,
Chuck, I really appreciate your honesty.
I don't know. In my mind, and I have definitely thought this through, I don't think that's anything that I would even think or care about, because obviously you can do other things too. You can be a Star Wars nut who only stays at the hotel in the land the entire 2 nights. Of course you can. And I have a hunch that check-in and check-out dates has to be the same for everyone, like on a cruise ship. I have a hunch that they'll have to be
I totally agree. It's going to have to be onboarded and offboarded like a
cruise
ship.
But no, I mean, if you're in costume and then, you do your thing for a few hours in Star Wars Land and in the hotel, and then you get bored, and then you go to another part of Disney World just like everybody else.
That's what I'm wondering about. Like, it's a weird concept to me.
Well, it's brand new.
Right. No, I get it. But they have this crazy exclusive, for Star Wars, nuts only kind of experience. And then I have there's this weird feeling of the Disney buses lining up outside to take you to Magic Kingdom. Like, I don't know. It's just, I can't, for some reason, I can't make it make sense in my head that you'd be doing anything other than the Star Wars experience while you're staying there. I can't imagine spending that kind of money and then going somewhere else.
I'm comfortable with. I totally can envision it, and whatever ends up happening, obviously, will change what I envisioned. But where I'm really fascinated by this, and this is what the listeners love about me, because I'm going to go completely cynical. And what I am looking forward to the most.
Oh, you think that's what people like about you?
Oh, it has to be. It's my number one quality. What have you thought about people? Now you worked at a front desk at Coronado, right? Was it? Or was that Amy who worked at Coronado?
Amy was at Coronado. I worked at Fort Wilderness.
Yes. Okay, so we all work front desk at Disney hotels. Remember how often people who do not do their research and do not use wonderful services like yours, which of course weren't around back then to be fair, but who do not do their research, simply can afford anything, and then simply go to a place because they can afford it and not because they actually know what they're getting themselves into. What I can't wait to see is the people like that who go to a place like Star Wars, like the Star Wars Resort, where they're paying maybe $3,000 a night per person, and yet it's not the kind of place where you could be like, oh, I feel like lounging in the pool all day today, and bring me a margarita every hour. That's not what you're getting yourself into.
No, you're not getting that at all.
It's almost like you're paying. It's almost like, have you heard about like people who take their vacations to go like volunteer in like a third world country? It's almost like that, except more entertaining and more fun.
I think it's nothing like that at all.
Well, in the sense that you have to kind of do something. You're not going to a hotel.
No, right. No, you're working.
And
like you
yet
said.
You are paying a ridiculous amount of money, which for the last 300 years of the hotel industry has meant that you are being pampered everything that you personally want, and who cares what the person in the room next to you wants? They can pay to do what they want.
Yeah.
That's not what's going to happen here.
That's a great topic. It's a great point.
I cannot wait to hear the stories from cast members who have to, of course, to the face of the guest, they have to, of course, be nice and empathetic. And then the second they leave, they laugh for the next 2 hours and share the stories with all of us about how these people completely blew it when they figured out if this was the right experience for them or not.
No, because you're right. Because there are people that have the cash who see that this is the newest, the biggest, the best experience, and they're just going to go. They're going to sign up, and they're going to go, and they're going to not do the research and not have any idea what the heck they're getting themselves into. I wonder about that. This is the kind of stuff that kind of I stay up at night thinking about, which should show you where my priorities lie. Because you wonder, like, what is there going to be a pool? Is there going to be a snack bar? Is there, like, I don't know.
Well, it would all have to be yours.
What's that?
It would all have to be indoors.
Right, because it has to be on like the ship. It
Right,
can't be
you
outside.
look out. So that's what made me think about this, because I immediately, when I read some of the things that came out in the past couple of days with a little bit more details, I immediately thought to, for example, like when I worked at Port Orleans, and a person who had never been to Walt Disney before, was very wealthy, who lived on Park Avenue in New York, and suddenly at the last minute, their travel agent booked them Port Orleans, but it was 4th of July, so there was nothing else left. And of course, the minute she walked into Port Orleans, she's like, this is like a Motel 6 to me. Well, she didn't know what she was getting herself into. And then I immediately thought for specifically people who might be claustrophobic and stuff. But you have to know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
You're not going to have open windows. You're not going to have fresh air unless you walk out of some weird portal that puts you out into the real world so that you can go do other things at Walt Disney World.
A portal. You gotta.
Well, I'm sure they'll make it seem like some kind of a portal,
Yeah, walk outside. There's a bus. That's what I mean. I don't get how it's gonna. Anyway.
Well,
it's going to be fascinating to see how it works. It really is. Yeah. I can't wait to see how that's done. And listen, I take my money now. I don't care. I'm paying for it. I want to do it. I want to experience it. I already have the shaved head. I could be like Samuel L. Jackson, Mace Windu, walking around with my purple lightsaber. I'm in, man. I'm in. I know I look a lot like Samuel L. Jackson. He and I have a lot of the same qualities. But all right, so
you also hate that. You hate it when you see snakes on a plane.
I do.
Okay.
What's hilarious? I can't. Amy and I were talking about snakes on a plane today when we were dropping the kids off from school. Seriously, we were talking about that. That's the weirdest thing that you just brought that up. Because I quoted the famous line that I can't quote on a family friendly.
No, you can't.
I don't say that word ever.
No, you don't.
But I really don't. People that
no, you really don't.
People that know me know I'm not. I say
other
words.
But no, you don't.
No, and my wife does. Holy cow, does she? She's got a potty mouth. Don't get her. I got to correct her in front of our children sometimes. Like I get mad at her more than the kids. But all right, so the other thing I wanted to talk about that I was thinking of is, okay, so cantinas, right, are being built on both coasts right now. They're being built. They're going in. It's not a surprise. They're going into Hollywood Studios and to Disneyland. Yes. Where do you feel, I know you're not a big drinker, what do you feel about having the cantina in Disneyland serve alcohol? Do you think it's something they need to do? Do they not need to do it? Does it have to be the same on both coasts? What do you think?
I mean, in the end, everything is about money. So the fact that the cantina at Disneyland can make a substantial profit compared to the one at Walt Disney, they would not want to miss out on the same profit that the one at Walt Disney World is making. So, just go for it. I mean, most people who go to a Disney park, they're not getting drunk like they do when they go to Six Flags.
Right.
Because they don't even want to go and their kids are just forcing them to go. And even at Walt Disney World, I mean, even like at Epcot, for example, they do a pretty good job of stopping people at like 2 if they see you, starting to act stupid. So I think it's fine. It's fine.
But is it, so here's what I've heard. The capacity for the cantina, listen, everything's going to be scaled down a little bit in Disneyland, right? They have less room. They have less room for Star Wars Land. It's going to be more about the attractions. Walt Disney World is going to have more room for retail. It's going to have a bigger cantina and that kind of thing. From what I've understood, the cantina capacity in Disneyland is going to be indoors. Part of it is going to be about 30. That's it. That's as many people as you're getting in there.
Well, if it's going to be less capacity than Walt Disney World's, then that's a completely different factor. That then it does change whether you bother selling alcohol or not.
Right, because you can sell a drink that has steam coming out of it, that looks that's basically Sprite and some kind of mixer that looks like a fancy Star Wars Other Planet drink, and people will wait in line for it if there's a capacity of 30 people. Like I'll be really curious to see if they decide to put alcohol out there or not, just because, and it's going to be hotly debated either way, I think, because you have those people who are, Walt will be rolling it over in his grave, blah, blah, blah. How do you know what Walt Disney would want?
Well, plus their opinion matters less and less as the years go by. So,
yeah.
But in the end, it's money. And you know what I think about in Pandora, the tiny little booth that sells 2 alcoholic drinks, and there's always line almost as long as for Flights of Passage at all times and all nights.
That's true.
That's what I think. And each drink costs, like $13 or $14. Yeah,
Well, they're different. Chuck, they're multicolored.
And $12 of that is profit, is pure profit for Disney. Then that's the deciding factor.
Listen,
it's not what Walt thought.
Agreed. It's a different. The parks are run. They're run like businesses now, and they weren't. Listen, Walt was a smart business guy, but he built things from. I mean, I didn't know Walt Disney, obviously, but from everything I've read and everything I've talked to people who knew him, he did things that he wanted to do because he wanted to do them, and he wanted people to enjoy them, and he wanted to make money, but he mortgaged everything to get the things that he wanted to get built. It's a little different now. Like, the bottom line is profits. It is. And Disney's a business, and they're not going to do stuff that's not going to make them a heck of a lot of money. But the thing is, Star Wars Land, they're not going to worry about bringing people in. That's why I think Disneyland may not go with the alcohol, because the people are going to come anyway. They're going to be there. They're going to be waiting in droves to get to that park,
right?
To get into that land. So, I mean, it's going to be, I feel bad for the Disneyland cast members, man. When that park opens, they're going to be in so much trouble. And until they equal it out over in DCA, where there are expansion plans and they're going to be doing a lot more, and things are going to be changing really big time over there. But until that happens, Disneyland is going to be nuts when that land opens. I mean, it's going to be insane over there. And California Adventure is going to be a ghost town. It is. It's just the way it is.
No, it won't, because there'll be way too many people per day who can't afford, or their ticket does not include Star Wars Land.
See, there you go. I don't know that they're going to do that.
I'm telling you, I would put all of my money and the rest of the second half of my life, I would bet on that.
You're pretty generous to think you have a second half left.
Well, I figured I'm approximately midway, so
No, but I get it. Listen, when again, speaking of Disneyland, when DCA opened, right, its price was the same. Its admission price was the same as Disneyland's price, but like we said, it was a failure when it opened, so they lowered the price. It was actually less to get into California Adventure for a while than it was Disneyland, because it wasn't as good.
Sure, for one-day tickets, but obviously not hoppers.
Sure. But Disney saw it and knew that people didn't, Disneyland is classic, it's nostalgic, it has Walt all over it. It's been there since 55. DCA people were like, they walked in and they were like, no, we're not paying for this. The same price. It's crazy. So they lowered it. I think you could be right that they I'm hoping not, but I don't know how else you regulate the crowds. I just don't know how. I mean,
just with money.
Yeah, the supply. I mean, the demand is going to be so high. It's going to be interesting. So I don't know. I keep getting. This is crazy.
Do you have any other topics that you got inspired about the Star Wars land? I have one.
Yeah. Well, let's hear it. What do you got?
Well, I've been obsessed with how this is going to affect Orlando in general. And I read some fascinating articles about the impact of when Universal announced Adventure finally got Harry Potter and finally became cool, what its effects were on Orlando in general, and especially SeaWorld. I predict Star Wars Land will be the second to last nail in the coffin of SeaWorld.
Yeah.
That's my prediction, because if it continues the way it is, people have more money when they travel, but they don't necessarily have more time.
Right.
And if you have a choice between the cool Harry Potter stuff and then now soon Nintendo stuff at Universal and the Star Wars stuff at Disney and all the new attractions that are coming for the birthday and for the 50th anniversary in 2021, and then you're like, or let's walk around SeaWorld where most of the cool rides are closed certain days of the week because they can't even afford to keep them open, and look at some fish in a tank. I think that it's clear what's going to happen.
I kind of agree with you, and it's sad. I'm sad to say that, but
I'm not sad at all. The place could close tomorrow. I could care less.
I was going to say I've never been a huge SeaWorld guy. I don't begrudge anyone who goes there. I get it. I get the entertainment of it. I wasn't. Listen, I'm all for animal rights and all that stuff. I wasn't one of those people on the Blackfish freaking out when the documentary came out.
No, me neither. I'm looking at it as a theme park. I care less about the animals.
All right. Well, I was trying to be nice about it, but that's where you want to go. I was trying to let you kind of tiptoe into that. But
No, I'm looking at it as a theme park compared to the other two.
Yeah, as
you
a
know,
the-
well,
as a theme park-
the other 6 or potentially 9 choices in the years to come.
yeah, there's no comparison. If you're looking at it, if you're comparing
Or
it
7
to
choices, yeah.
if you're comparing it to what Walt Disney World has and what Universal has and will have, it's not not a contest.
Several of my closest friends in Orlando all live within like a 2-mile radius of SeaWorld in that neighborhood that is considered, I guess, Williamsburg. And I always tell them all the time, I mean, it might be benefit to you. You might get like that, when once SeaWorld closes, it might be like a mall, so you don't have to drive the extra 5 minutes to the next mall.
Put a mall in.
Orlando could always use another mall, so then you don't have to drive the full 15 minutes to the Millennium Mall. You can just drive 5 minutes to the new mall.
Isn't it the mall at Millennia?
Yes, that's true.
What a silly name for a mall. So silly.
I was there opening day for that mall. I'll never forget it.
What year was that? What year did that open?
2002. November 2002.
I think I moved back to Florida like 2 years after that. It was still a brand new mall when I lived there. But yeah, at SeaWorld, you're right. I can't compete. It really doesn't compete now. But
unless it becomes a slightly better version of those fun parks, which have actually done well, surprisingly enough, recently. And have actually expanded the 2 fun parks. Is that what they call fun parks? They always get that stupid commercial with the guy going, "It's huge!"
I don't even know. What parks are you talking about? You live in Florida, remember? I don't.
There's one in Kissimmee next to Old Town.
Yeah, I know Old Town. I didn't even know there was one next to Old Town.
Yes, it's been there. It was there when you lived.
Oh, just nearby. the little park. Yeah, the little.
Yes, but then they officially made it Fun Spot. I'm sorry, I think it's Fun Spot.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
The name, yeah. And then there's the one on the other end of iDrive, where iDrive ends at the other outlet mall, which is actually like only 2 blocks from the mall at Millennium.
Well, as much as we're having fun reminiscing, we're probably boring the heck out of people who want to go Star Wars land. So, but yeah, I mean, listen, if Star Wars is the beginning of the end of SeaWorld, I won't be too upset. Yeah. To me, it's not something my family and I do on the regular. We don't do it. So we're Disney people. My kids haven't even been to Universal yet. So there you go.
No, I know, but I'm sure someday they will.
Oh, no, I think that's coming in the next, not this trip, but probably the next one. We're heading down next month. We'll only be in Walt Disney World for a couple of days, and we're doing a cruise for 4 nights. But I think we'll definitely be going soon. Alexa's starting getting into the Harry Potter stuff.
Yeah, my niece is too. So she'll want to visit it once we read more of the books.
Oh, geez, we'll be getting wands and man, I don't want to do any of that. I'm not I'm a former Universal employee as well. So I worked over there for a while. I worked at City Walk, and I enjoy it. I do. I really do enjoy the evil empire. The evil empire over there, but I don't like it as much as Walt Disney World. I just don't.
No.
Anyway,
it's a nice compliment.
It is, and that's exactly what it will. Unfortunately for them, what it will always be is a compliment. Disney's in no danger of having the crown taken away. They're just not. It's just not going to happen.
No, I don't see it. Not in the foreseeable future.
No. So Chuck, this was fun. Thank you again for the topic, and I'm excited to buy you your non-alcoholic strawberry drink in the cantina when it opens in Walt Disney World. I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. Very, very fun. And I'm excited to walk through Toy Story Land with you over the summer, and or get we'll see what I don't know if we'll get even close to that. But thanks again.
And next month, are you excited to eat whatever disgusting thing I choose?
Oh, dude, I thought you would forget about that.
No, I haven't thought about it because I'm just really going to get your, Amy to pick something. But no, I haven't forgotten. Don't worry.
All right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll have to videotape that and videotape like I'm in the 70s. We'll have the iPhone tape record that thing and put it out there. Yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be maybe. I'm wondering where Amy's going to take it. Maybe one of the Asian countries. I'm assuming or Morocco in Epcot. I'm assuming that's where she'll go. Because she knows I'm afraid of Moroccan food. So, anyway, all right, Chuck. Well, thanks again. This is fun. Looking forward to the next one, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
And that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ear to There Disney Podcast. thank you once again to my friend and co-host this week, Mr. Chuck Rodriguez. It's always fun to have Chuck on, even though he is the most cynical man that I know. No, he's not that cynical. It's always fun to have Chuck on, so thank you again, Chuck. And thank you so much for listening. It is, as always, greatly appreciated. I hope you were as excited as we are about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and the Star Wars Resort, and hey, why not Toy Story Land, all that stuff that is coming soon to Hollywood Studios and to Disneyland. It's an exciting, exciting time to be a Disney fan and to be a Star Wars fan. So get excited. Get ready, get your popcorn ready, get your tickets purchased. It's going to be a lot of fun. So again, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And if you did enjoy the show, please just tell someone about it. I know you know a Star Wars fan, right? Tell your Star Wars nerd fan friend. I think I said that right, but all three of those words absolutely apply to me as well. Tell that friend all about this episode of the show. Tell them about how we go into detail and even argue, I think, a little bit about Star Wars Land. I'd really appreciate it. So thanks so much in advance. And just remember, there will be a new episode of the Ear to There Disney podcast each and every Monday morning, as well as a new episode of It's a Food World that is coming back. Sorry for the little break there, but they're coming back this Wednesday and every Wednesday. So until next time, thank you again so much for listening. Have yourself an awesome, awesome week. Bye-bye.